Alright, this will be a full showcase of my Stark Industries mod. There's quite a lot to go over. So, let's start on this wall, which is the base resources. So, you've got your aluminum, copper, vibranium, titanium, palladium, platinum, lead, magnesium, chromium, gold titanium alloy, steel, colored gold titanium alloy, and then we have some variant stuff for gold, iron, diamond, and coal, although this can be done using anything that is tagged as coal. And then if we fly back over here, these are the two main tools, the hammer and the wire cutters. The hammer is used for crushing things into dusts or turning ingots into plates. And then the wire cutters are similar thing, but turning plates into wires. Or in the case of diamond wires, just a straight diamond. Alright, then we've got some various materials here, such as insulators, magnetic coils, reinforced glass, motors, radiation shielding, and the vibranium core, which is done using an element frame like this. And there are 3 music discs, which is the theme songs from the 3 actual Iron Man movies. So you've got Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3. I'm not going to play them because they are most definitely copyrighted. Then we've got our circuit bases. So normal circuit base is iron plate, lime dye, green dye, and a plastic plate. I'll go over how to do plastic in a minute. And then we've got the advanced one, which uses the normal with steel plate, plastic plate, cyan, and blue dyes. And then the Stark circuit, similar thing but with light blue, diamond, and titanium. Then we get into the machine blocks. Just to note, they are not automatic. You have to actually press a button in the screen to do whatever thing. The only one that is automatic is this one here. So this is the arc reactor generator, crafted like this. And don't get it confused, there's 2 different of these. This one is steel, this one's titanium. So you're going to want to pay attention to the names, because the steel and titanium look real similar. But anyway, with this, you just put in an arc reactor, and it'll charge itself. And then you'll need some other mod that has some form of like energy pipes or cables. I just have the pipes mod in here. This mod here. So I just have that in here. But if I put an arc reactor in here, that's charged, this one's charging. Now that's charged, so now this will start filling up itself. And it's in increments like this because this mod is made in M Creator and it has its limitations, such as progress bars being very complicated. So I didn't want to deal with that, so I just did lights. So these 2 machines here each hold 30,000 FE, forge energy. And each time you press the button here, it uses 10,000. So essentially each light is 1 button press worth of power. That's the same for both of these. You'll also notice it tells you the recipe that these do on the side here. This one's a little more complicated because there's more than one thing going on. But yeah, so to make a normal circuit, you need a circuit base, a gold wire, and a redstone dust. And then advanced circuit is the same thing, just advanced circuit base. Stark circuit is a little different. So the way this works, you put your circuit base here, your wires here, redstone dust here, and then you hit the button. So now this one, this is where it gets a little weirder because you got to use a diamond wire for this one. But yeah, that's how you make circuits, using the circuit imprinter, which is crafted like this. And again, titanium and steel look real similar. So watch out for that. And then we have the plastic fuser. So the plastic fuser takes clay and paper and turns it into plastic, which you can then hammer out into plastic plates in order to make the circuit bases. Then we have the arc reactor activator. So this works a little differently from the other two because this can hold 1.5 million Fe, but it uses the entirety of it each time you press the button. So if I want to activate this Mark 1 arc reactor, you see it empties the bar. You obviously can't do it until it fills up. But yeah, that one doesn't have instructions in its GUI just because it's fairly obvious, this one. I mean, if you think about it, you're charging the arc reactor up, jump-starting it. So this wire coming from the internal power storage, that would make sense. But yeah, so this holds 1.5 million Fe, so each one of the lights is 500,000. Same with this one. But yeah, keep in mind that this one uses its entire internal storage each time. Okay, so we've got the arc reactors here. So the inactive ones are the ones that you craft. So here's the Mark 1, the Mark 2, and the Mark 3. The only thing you gotta know is that the palladium ring for the Mark 1 is casted palladium, which is molten palladium bottle and a molding bowl. Molding bowl's just a bowl in clay. Molten palladium is blasted palladium dust bottle, which is just a glass bottle and palladium dust. Palladium dust you can get from the ore or the ingot. You can also empty out the bottle. And then there's a fourth arc reactor, which you do not have to activate, which is the nano housing. Essentially like the tier 4. This one also cannot go into the arc reactor generator over there. These three can, this one can't. So if you're using the generator to power your base, you have to use one of these three. And then we've got all of our plate circuits. So plate circuits are simply just the circuit plus whatever plate you're doing. For advanced circuit, there's none for normal circuits. These 4 for advanced, and then these, I think it's, 11 for the Stark. And then we get into suits. So, the Mark 1 limits your view quite a bit. Doesn't give you any speed or strength buffs. And if I go into my controls, down here is all of the start controls. So this one only has one thing, which is a flamethrower. So this just shoots blaze fireballs, essentially. But yeah, and it is... And remember, it's using both titanium and steel. It's just hard to see. I have to try and find better textures for steel to make it look different than titanium. And then we've got the Mark II, which has this interface on it, and does give some speed and strength. So this is also the first one that can fly. If I go in survival here, you can see I have creative flight with some particles. But that's not the only type of flight that these suits have. So, Stark Industries, the mod, requires the Salus or Calus mod, however you pronounce it. It's the one that the Origins mod uses for its Elytra API. But this also has that. And this, as you can see, has some very nice smoke trails for while you're flying fast. Most suits use the campfire signal smoke, so this would be the duration of it. But a couple of the more stealth-oriented suits just use the cozy smoke, which disappears like twice as fast. So this suit, the Mark II, also does not have any weapon systems. So there's no repulsor or unibeam, just flight. So then if we get into the Mark III, basically identical to the Mark II, same like flight and everything. But this one actually has repulsor and unibeam. And when you use both of them, you get a potion effect called Weapon Cooldown, which prevents you from using either of them. So if you use the Unibeam, you have to wait for the cooldown before you can even use the Repulsor again. So the Repulsor uses a 3-explosion firework. And then the Unibeam uses a instant exploding creeper. And I did this on purpose because that makes it compatible with the mob griefing game rule. So if you have mob griefing turned off, then people won't be able to blow stuff up with an Iron Man suit. So it can be helpful on servers. Then the Mark IV, basically identical to the Mark III. Only reason the Mark IV existed was to replace the Mark III when it got destroyed in the movies. So. So, same thing there. And then. Yeah, a more interesting one is the Mark V. So this is one of the few models that I did actually make, the Mark V suitcase. Because most of... Yeah, I probably should mention that. The majority of the textures and models are not mine. I cannot take credit for them. Like, all of the suit textures, they were all just skins I found online. That's why they're also so mismatched. Because Marks 1 through... I think this is 7. Yeah, Marks 1 through 7 were made by one person. And then almost the rest of them were made by a different person. So that's why you kind of have these two separate styles here. which is unfortunate, but because I do like the first 7 better, but the person that made the skins for the first 7 didn't continue at all, and those skins were from like 7 years ago. So yeah, that's not continuing. But yeah, so Mark 5. So you make the suitcase using the armor, and obviously you would want to install JI for this mod, because otherwise you will not figure out what's going on. Oh, one thing I will mention, if you craft, for instance, the Mark II chestplate, the mod will give you back the Mark I chestplate. So you won't lose any of your suits when you upgrade. So if I look at, say, the Mark 11 chestplate recipe, it uses the Mark 10, but when you do the recipe, like when you click this out of the crafting table, it gives you the Mark 10 back. Does that for everything. So you don't have to worry about losing your suits, you can assemble a proper armory just like he did in the movies. Only reason the recipes use the previous suit is so that the progression is like an actual line, instead of being able to skip straight to one of the 2 Nanotech ones. So that'd be very unbalanced. Yeah, so Mark 5. Yeah, the Mark 5 collapses down into the suitcase. And to collapse it is a keybind, and you just right-click the suitcase to put it on. But other than that, it's essentially identical to all the previous ones. And then the Mark 6. Right, so the Mark 1 uses a Mark 1 arc reactor. Marks 2, 3, 4, and 5 all use the Mark 2. But then every other suit uses the Mark 3. Apart from the Nanotech ones. But yeah, so the Mark 7 is the first one that uses a higher tier arc reactor. It's also the only suit that I was able to get solid evidence of being waterproof. So, hence the water breathing. But yeah, it's the only suit that I could get concrete evidence of it being properly waterproof without, being specialized for water like that green one. Okay, and then the Mark 7, basically identical to the Mark 6, apart from not being waterproof, because I don't know if it actually was. Mark 7 was used in the first Avengers movie, and he was never shown underwater in that one. He was shown underwater in the Mark 6 in the beginning. But yeah, and so basically all the same, blah blah blah. But where you start getting differences is Marks 17 and 18 have a different unibeam. So the Mark 17 actually makes you slower, because this one is based entirely on offense. So this one, it's the same repulsor. Repulsor doesn't change, but the unibeam is done with a charged creeper for this one. So it's still compatible with mob griefing game rule. It also has a longer cooldown. So this is basically like your tank suit. Heavy firepower, but slow as hell. And then the Mark 18 is same unibeam, but you can actually move at a decent pace. Still has the same cooldown, though. But yeah, and then this one is entirely based on speed, so you have lower level of strength and no resistance. This one's based entirely on being fast. And then This one, I believe... Yeah, this is the first one that's based on stealth. If I fly around a bit, you'll see that that smoke trail disappears a lot faster. But yeah, you don't get any speed or strength in that one. The Mark 21, I think, is also entirely speed. Yeah, you get massive speed, but no resistance and only strength 2. And then Mark 22's basically like some of the previous ones. No, give me the chest plate. There we go. This one has a different HUD, as you can see, it's red. It also gives fire resistance, because this one is crafted using insulators. Entirely made of insulators. It's not the prettiest looking suit, but I'd say it's probably the most useful. Because that one means that you can go netherite mining easier in the nether. And then we have the suit that is actually meant for water. You can see it has like a mint green HUD. This one gives conduit power, so you'll be able to break blocks faster, see farther, and move faster underwater. And breathe underwater. It does that as well. And then for the special features of the Mark 39, you have to have the mod Space Boss Tools installed. Because this is a 1.16 mod, Stark Industries. So it's Space Boss Tools in that version and not Beyond Earth. But if you want to find the mod, you have to search for Beyond Earth. But this one is a nice purple HUD. And it gives the usual effects, but it also gives the oxygen bubble effect from Space Boss Tools if you have that installed, which allows you to breathe on the other planets from that mod. Because this one was meant for space travel. But yeah, and then we've got 42, which does not have repulsors, but does have unibeam. And then I skipped 43 because it's identical to the 42, apart from having more weapons. And I skipped 44 because that is the first Hulkbuster suit. So then we've got the 45, which is getting into Strength 3 and Resistance 2. But yeah, and then we've got the 46, which is basically same thing, just more lights. And then 47. Now, I skipped 48 because the Mark 48 is the second Hulkbuster suit that Banner used in Infinity War. And then we have the 49. So this is the suit that Pepper wore in Endgame. It was also shown Tony's daughter wearing the helmet. And funny misconception about this one, this was actually never a Nanotech suit. But a lot of people thought it was. No idea why, because it was never shown doing anything that the Nanotech could do. Though it did have, like, hovering repulsor things. I don't really know what you would call them. But yeah, then we get into the two Nanotech suits. So you can make the just the arc reactor just by compressing all of this. So these are made using nano meshes, which is 9 of the nanoparticles, and you get 9 of the nanoparticles with 4 ingots of whatever material around a Stark circuit. But this is the Mark 50. You see it has a very different HUD. Something to note as well, you can always tell what suit you're in without even changing perspective or looking in your inventory. If you just look in the top left corner of the HUD, it tells you the number for each one. Yeah, something else to mention is that all of these suits, because of the way that they're modeled, if you have a skin that has secondary layers, or from a mod such as customizable player models like 3D parts on it, they will guaranteed clip with the suits. So keep that in mind. That's why this Tony Stark skin has no secondary layers and no 3D components. So definitely bear that in mind. Oh yeah, these 3 music discs are craftable, by the way, just by using a titanium plate and some combination of dies. I have to fix the recipe for this one and make it shapeless, because it's currently not. But yeah, so that's all the suits. So one thing that I did add is the display case. So the display case, you can see the hitbox is actually that tiny little cube there. If I grab this, you can see you can place it down, but you can walk through it almost entirely except for this little box down here. That's the only spot that it has a hitbox. So that means that you can put an armor stand here. But I realized if you just do that, where the armor stand is on a flat floor, and you put some kind of helmet on it, the top edge of the glass here cuts off the top of the helmet, so you can't see it as well. So, I found out if you put a full block of snow layers under where the armor stand goes, it lowers it by 1 pixel, which allows you to see the helmet a little better. And it looks better for these ones, because they're not as bulky as normal armor. Yeah, and then, if we go time set midnight, you can see everything has glowing effects. However, because of how mCreator is, and not letting you do emissive things for items and armor, I had to do the exact same method that you use for Optifine resource packs. So that means if you do not have Optifine installed, nothing will glow. Just keep that in mind. If you notice that you download the mod and like this isn't glowing, it's not a problem with the mod, it's just that you don't have Optifine installed. Simple as that. Oh yeah, and as an example of models and textures not being mine, this here for the circuit imprinter is actually the model and texture from Ad Astra for the NASA workbench. All I did was change these to a more metallic gray color because they were just straight orange. But yeah, so that is... Oh. Also added this. was seen while he was doing flight testing for like the stabilizers and stuff, and the repulsors. So this is marked ground, which is just any sort of stone, an aluminum plate, and then you can stone cut it into the number variants. 0, 1, and 2. I may add more numbers, I don't know. Actually, no, I can't, because these are only 4 tall. If I wanted to even add just 3. If I wanted to add just 1 more for the number 3, I'd have to change these to be 5 pixels tall. Because 3 has to be, like, pixel, gap, pixel, gap, pixel, in order to get the correct shape. So yeah, no. Stuck with only 0 to 2. Unfortunate. Yeah, but... So, copper can be mined with a stone pickaxe. Vibranium can only be mined with a diamond pickaxe. And then pretty much everything else is iron pickaxe or above. And you can see all the lights for the suits. And like even the arc reactors glow. Once again, arc reactors, textures and models, not mine. Pretty much none of the textures and models are mine apart from like the Mark V suitcase. And like even the GUIs over here. Like this is from someone else's Iron Man mod. This GUI was originally from Ad Astra. Same with this one and this one. All I did was edit them to make them fit better. Yeah, that is the Stark Industries mod. And definitely let me know in the comments if you think that I should upload it to CurseForge. Don't know how well it'll go, because again, a lot of the models and textures are not mine, and I didn't really ask permission for them. So I don't know how people would feel about me releasing the mod. Like, I'll even put on the mod page in giant bold red that majority of textures and models aren't mine. But I guarantee that there's still going to be somebody that is unhappy about that. But I suppose we'll see. Once again, just let me know in the comments if you think I should release it. Because I'm not entirely sure.